You all know Super Bowl winner and former NFL tight end Jermaine Wiggins. I am Bill Enright filling in for Mike Felger. Wiggy, how you doing, my man?
I am doing good. I'm a little bit concerned because I saw a Giants picture in the back behind you. So, I guess it is what it is. I'll do my best to try not to stare at that and just focus on your forehead.
Yeah, you might get blind looking at this bald head right here. But listen, I'm a third-generation Giant season ticket holder, man. That's in my blood. Born in North Jersey. But don't worry, I do have some Patriot roots as I am a broadcaster on Patriots.com. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. The New England Patriots, we are a week into training camp, NFL season right around the corner. Patriot beat reporter from the Boston Globe, Ben Volin, will join us in just a bit, as will the Patriots play-by-play guy, Bob Sochi. Plus, we got some props for our new game, Fugazi or For Real. That's going to be coming up a little bit later in the show. First, I want to mention that Jabroni Talk is brought to you by Original Grain. You can now pre-order the next limited release of Original Grain's 1946 Red Sox watches at originalgrain.com/Red Sox. These awesome watches are made from real wood from Fenway Park seats. Wiggy, I know you have one.
Right.
Felger, who usually is where I am, he has one. Red Sox owner John Henry, he's got a watch. You guys all wore it, and they sold out within a week, so you know these are going to go fast as well. The time to pre-order is right now. Again, go to originalgrain.com/Red Sox to pre-order yours today. I want to thank everyone watching on YouTube. You can certainly ask a question, but if you want to join Wiggy and I, hit that fan line button on the FanCred app. Just go into our FanCred app, tap the on-air button, and in the upper right-hand side, you'll see the fan line, and you'll be able to ask a question. We'll be able to see your pretty face as the rest of the audience. All right, Wiggy, let's get to it, my man. You got some beef with Ben Volin, who should be joining us in just a bit. You took issue with him asking Tom Brady about Julian Edelman's suspension and connecting it to Tom Brady's TB12 Sports Center. So what's your beef?
Well, it's simple. This is why I take issue to like dumb questions like that. He's clearly not in practice. So if he wants to find out about Julian Edelman's PD suspension and whether it was connected to TB, why not just go 25 yards, 30 yards away, wherever it is, and ask Julian Edelman? To me, that's a question that when you're asking a question like that, you're not down there to really, get some type of information about what's going on with the Patriots this season. You're just down there looking for clickbait and pushing buttons. Because the other thing that kind of pissed me off about it is Alex Guerrero made a statement about this on June 17th. He went on Twitter and basically said, hey, listen, we know Julian and we worked with him, but we in no shape, form, or fashion whatsoever, meaning the TB12, the method, whatever it may be, have any connection with Julian Edelman's suspension. We do everything by the rules right here. So that question was answered way back when. To ask Tom Brady about another player who is 30 yards away, come on, man. That's why I have an issue with a lot of media people, because they're not really trying to figure out what's going on with the team. They just really looking for things to get clickbait and push buttons and shit like that.
Well, Wiggy, I'll tell you what. Let's bring on Ben Volin from the Boston Globe. He's been covering the New England Patriots for a long time. We can ask him directly instead of me trying to defend him. We'll get the answer straight from Ben, who's going to be joining us on the FanCred fan line. Ben, thanks so much for joining us today on Jabroni Talk. How are you?
All right, Wiggy, I'm in the car right now driving home from Patriots practice. So
yes, be careful.
I'm working on my anyway, I've been listening to you here, and I love you, Wiggy, but you have no idea what you're talking about. Like literally no idea what you're talking about. And how many ways are you wrong about this? The question posed to Tom Brady was not about Julian Edelman. It was not, was Julian Edelman pop for PEDs? The question was about Alex Guerrero getting dragged into the conversation by a lot of people, including your partner, Mike Felger, who's talking all about, well, Edelman's suspension means that it's a win for Belichick over Guerrero, and cast all our suspicion on Alex Guerrero. So that was my question to Brady. How did you feel about Alex Guerrero getting linked to this? What was your reaction to that? And frankly, it should have been a very easy answer for Tom Brady. He should have said exactly what Alex Guerrero said, that it's ridiculous, there's zero proof, It's unfair, and I can't believe I'm even having to talk about this, but it's absolutely not true, and I stand behind him 100%. The question had nothing to do with Edelman. It was all about Alex Guerrero getting dragged into it, and that was the first time that we got to talk to Brady since the suspension went down in June. It's not like TB12, Alex Guerrero, they're opening their doors up to the media all the time and welcoming us in. Like, what planet do you live on where that's a possibility?
Guerrero put out a statement June 7th when it all popped and basically said, hey, we have no involvement. So why not take his word on it rather than asking Tom there? To me, when you ask Tom there, you're not really trying to get information. We all know what the deal was. He made a statement about it June 7th, basically saying, hey, we had no involvement, nothing to do with it. We do everything the legal way. We take the holistic measure, all that approach. So to ask Tom about, you know, the PED suspension and the Edelman and people trying to link like Felger. Felger's a clown, and asking him, you know, people to like link that, then it just makes you look like a jackass because we already know the answer to it. And that's the problem I have with it, because it's not a good question. And for everybody who's like, oh yeah, it's a good question, it's not.
It is. Not one media person, not one professional, someone who does press conferences and interviews for a living, has had any problem with the question. It's only for fans and ex-players and people that want to pray at the altar of Tom Brady. And, like, that's fine. And I'm fine with him the way he handled it. If he wants to walk off, like, that reaction was telling. That answered the question. He thought it was ridiculous. But it's absolutely fair. For Alex Guerrero has openly addressed the situation. He released a statement. Tom Brady, it's not just a normal player-trainer relationship. Alex Guerrero, you know, is the godfather of his children, and Tom Brady sings his praises every chance he gets, and half the team goes to see Alex Guerrero. So this is not just a normal relationship. And Julian Edelman, also Mr. Guerrero, Mr. TB12, he gets popped for PEDs. People link Guerrero to it. Tom Brady's whole business and off-field life revolves around this guy. I'm not allowed to ask him for his reaction. That's absurd. That's just absurd.
Why not ask Julian? He's down there. Why not
ask Julian? Other people asked Julian as well, and he defended Alex Guerrero.
I'm talking about you. Why don't you go up to Julian and ask him?
Julian and Tom Brady were talking at the exact same time. I've not quite figured out yet how to be in two places at the same time. I'm working on it, but I haven't figured it out yet. I was sitting in on Tom Brady, who's the star quarterback of the team. First time talking all training camp. We haven't heard from him. All these questions we need to address. This is how it works. I'm a credentialed part of the media. We get one chance a week to talk to Tom Brady. Like, that's the opportunity to ask him questions. And absolutely, for being the first time since the PED suspension came down, it was absolutely fair to ask Tom for his reaction to this guy getting dragged into the conversation. That's all it was. I wasn't accusing anyone. I've never once said there's any sort of proof linking Guerrero to Edelman and PEDs, but he clearly got dragged into the conversation, and all I was doing was asking Brady for his reaction to that.
Well, like I said, it was a dumb question. Bottom line.
Bottom line. Well, you know, I'm glad we hashed that out, Wiggy. I'm glad we got to the bottom of it.
Ben, while you're in the car, I want to ask you, has anyone stood out to you from training camp that some of the fans may be surprised about? Might have lost Ben. All right, Wiggins. I guess we lost Ben. He was driving in the car. What did you think of his answer? I mean, he seems to have a reasonable excuse why he asked Brady about the question, but you still have a beef with it.
It's not a reasonable, like, so, this is the first time we get Tom Brady, and we were able to talk to Tom Brady. It's like, to me, I think that's like a cop-out. That's an excuse. Like, you know what you were doing, and that's the point that I was trying to make to him. We all knew we all knew what went down because we saw that we heard the statement from Guerrero. We saw him put it out on social media. So to ask Tom about it, not to be in two places at one time, if you know you want to ask that question, why not go to Edelman and say, hey, Julian, there are a lot of people saying, there are a lot of people out there talking. Basically, the way he framed the question to Tom, why not do that to Julian? I'm just not a fan of media people asking players. Now, I know the relationship that Brady has with Guerrero, and I know the TB12, but there are a ton of players that work out with Guerrero. So every time a player has a situation, the media is going to run and go talk to Tom. If you got an issue, talk to that person. I'm not a fan of media people asking other players about another player's situation. regardless if they work with the same trainer or not.
You are watching Jabroni Talk, presented by Original Grain. Our next guest is the Patriots play-by-play man for 98.5 The Sports Hub, Bob Sochi. He also does some work for Patriots.com, which I also broadcast with. Bob's going to join us on the fan line. You can also join us. Hit that fan line button in the top right-hand side of your screen, and you'll be able to join Wiggy and I just like Bob is right now. Bob, how's it going, man? How's camp been so far?
It's going well, Bill. And Wiggy, though a little more energy from what I've seen thus far on this fan cred broadcast than we saw out there on the practice field just a little while ago. Good to be with you guys.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Bob, the Pats have dominated in the NFL for basically the last 2 decades. What are the expectations like around the building this time of year in training camp?
Well, I mean, around the building as in outside the football walls and that locker room and the meeting rooms with Bill Belichick, his staff, and the players, I think the expectations are no different than they have been. Inside, of course, in what they say to us, they try to tamp down those expectations. Certainly today, though, I think a couple of injuries that have raised some concerns for this team moving forward. Marcus Cannon had to leave practice early. Sonny Michel seemed to tweak something in his left leg and had to leave practice a bit early. We know Jordan Matthews has been out for a couple of days now, and there was a report from Ian Rappaport that his hamstring injury is a little more significant. So you're now starting to see a couple areas of this team, wide receiver in particular. But when you're talking about a starting tackle who had to leave practice because of injury, those are going to have an impact on the football team if they linger, if they're long-term, and if there's any, serious nature to them.
Hey, Bob, you obviously you're down there. You get to cover this team a lot. But the thing that I want to know, because I was down in practice the other night, what are you maybe looking to see, preseason and maybe into the regular season? Is there one specific player? And I'm not talking about the guys that we already know. Is it somebody that might have stood out for you, or somebody that you're looking to see this upcoming season or preseason in some game action?
Yeah, I think the first things you look at, okay, what areas do the Patriots suffer losses in through free agency during the offseason? Left tackle, for example. What areas do they need to get better in coming off that Super Bowl loss to the Eagles? Well, the front seven defensively. They got to be stouter against the run. They've got to be able to get to the quarterback. So you look at Trent Brown and pay close attention to the big man playing left tackle. It's hard to miss him. He's the largest human being I've ever seen. I get to look up to Scott Zolak every Sunday. So, I'm around a big man in his presence. Let me tell you, Trent Brown dwarfs him. And then you look at, the defensive line. What kind of an impact might an Adrian Clay Shelton going to fit on that defensive line? Who looks like he's poised to make a jump from year 1 to year 2? And could that be Dietrich Wise? What about Derek Rivers? How does he look out there because he lost all of his rookie season because of injury? Can he help this defense? And you bounce around. When I watch practice, I bounce around. I try to keep an eye on some of the younger guys who try to make this team. Maybe they're under the roster guys, but who might be the third defensive back in the nickel alignment, the third cornerback in that nickel alignment. And Duke Dawson, the rookie's getting a lot of reps in between Stephon Gilmore and Eric Rowe right now. And some other guys like J.C. Jackson and Ryan Lewis are young guys who are bidding for roles in that secondary as well.
And it seemed like when I was down there, had a good connection with Brady was Philip Dorsett. Brady hit him a few times. So I had mentioned on social media and when I do my sports report on Hot 96.9 that I feel like Philip Dorsett could have a big year this year just from, I've only been down there a few times, but just from seeing the comfort level and the relationship that, Brady has shown with Dorsett.
I agree with you. I think it's important to remember Dorsett didn't join the Pats until right before the start of last season. So he didn't go through the offseason program, didn't have a training camp with the Patriots, had a big catch, of course, in the AFC Championship on that flea flicker against Jacksonville, helping the Pats come back against the Jags. And Bill Belichick said the other day on Sirius XM radio that he's one of the guys who's really made significant strides this summer from the spring, and I think in part because he's been in the program all year long. First-round talent coming out of Miami, disappointment in Indianapolis, but I think you're right. I think he's one of those guys who has stood out well thus far in this training camp, and maybe without Edelman the first 4 games of the season, he's a guy who will have a magnified role, and thus far from what we've seen, he and Brady certainly have a good working relationship.
Bob, last question I have for you. this Patriots wide receiving core, they lost Brandon Cooks, they lost Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman suspended for 4 games, Jordan Matthews, as we're broadcasting live on FanCred, just got cut. Who's going to step up in those?
Matthews has a hamstring injury. He's out, and the report is that it could be a significant injury, but he's still on the team.
I think from what I'm reading right now, he just got cut. Like as we're talking.
Oh well, I haven't seen that report. You got it. You got breaking news.
I think that's the breaking news from wow. Some of the beat reporters that I'm following. So
it says that Mass Live has it saying that Jordan Matthews cut by the Patriots wide receiver suddenly let go after hamstring injury. So who knows?
My question is, I mean, other than Rob Gronkowski and Chris Hogan, who's catching passes? Is it really going to be Philip Dorsett?
Well, you're seeing a guy like Cordero Patterson try to catch up offensively, and he was more of a return man in terms of having an impact on the game where he's been previously with Minnesota and the Raiders. He said the other night that he's not where he wants to be. Certainly was a harsh critic of himself after Monday's practice. And watching him today, although he's made some acrobatic catches thus far in this camp, he and Brady spent a lot of time in between reps talking. And you know what it's like, Wiggy, working with Tom. And you could see Tom, the look on his face, let alone tells part of the story, but seeing his hand gestures and even mimicking the movements of a defensive back and working with Patterson, talking about route adjustments, I assume, and things that he wants to see from Patterson to be in the right place at the right time. You got a couple of young guys like Riley McCarron and Braxton Berrios, one a former Houston Texan who was a signee on the practice squad last year, the other a draft choice this year out of Miami, I think are vying for that end of the receiver depth chart position as somebody who could be a punt returner, but maybe help out in the slot. And there are certainly good traits to each of those guys. And I like McCarron thus far this summer in particular. But they're searching. They worked out Eric Decker. You look at Chris Hogan, and we won't have Edelman for 4 games. You know what you got in those guys if they're healthy. And when Julian's out there in week 5, and he's looked good thus far this camp. And with Chris Hogan, you know what you have right there. But you're right, Bill. I think they're going to continue to search, and they may do it right up until the season and even after the season begins. This team is a long way from really, I think, identifying the 4 or 5 guys that you're going to see on opening night at the wide receiver position. Whereas in the past, you knew 3, 4 right off the bat who were locks to make the roster if healthy.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I think a lot of people, from being in this offense before, and I kind of know how things work, you got a lot of people, when they think wide receiver, just looking at guys outside the numbers. But you got to factor in guys like Burkhead, James White. I saw Hollister made a few catches. So they'll be able to get productivity from other places if they know that they might not have the depth as much as far as out in the wide receiver position. So I think a lot of people get enamored. They're like, oh, my God, they don't have but a couple of guys out here. But the Pats are so good of getting other positional groups involved in the passing game.
Yeah, no question. I think we're going to see a lot of the 2-back sets. And Zoe even mentioned the other night, we were watching the practice on Monday, that we may even see a 3 running back set, 3 receivers as running backs for the Patriots. Again, if Michel can come back, because you expect him at some point to have an impact in the passing game. And I did just see, finally, I'm a little late with my notifications. I did see the reports now that Matthews has been cut by the Pats. And that's kind of stunning, because the other day the report was that it wouldn't be significant, that hamstring injury. And you mentioned Hollister. He has looked terrific in terms of his hands. He's a smaller tight end. But I think Dwayne Allen has had a good start to this summer. I know he was a disappointment last year in the passing game, especially. Good blocker, but he's moving well. He looks like he's dropped some weight. He looks, I think, more fluid out there. Looks more confident. And Will Tye is another guy that, as a New York Giant, had a great game against the Patriots several years ago, in that game in which Gostkowski kicked the field goal at the end in the Meadowlands. And Ty's a guy that, is catching balls on a regular basis. So, there could be an option, that third tight end for this team. If it's not Hollister, maybe it's a guy like Ty, to involve more in the passing game this year as opposed to last year.
He is Bob Sochi, the voice of the Patriots. You can find him on 98.5 The Sports Hub for all the play-by-play action for the 2018 season. Bob, thanks so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of training camp.
Hey, guys, thanks so much. And give my best to Felger. Where was he today?
Where is Felger, Wiggy?
He's in Nantucket, rubbing elbows with all the high sedity people.
Napkins on his lap, no doubt.
Right.
But anyways, it's better to be with you, Bill. And Wiggy, always great to be with you, my friend.
Thanks, Sos. Take care, bud.
All right, guys, take care.
Thank you very much. Again, Felger is in Nantucket, like Wiggy reported. So I'm Bill Enright filling in for him. He's Jermaine Wiggins. This is Jabroni Talk, brought to you by Original Grain. Go check out those watches, originalgrain.com/Red Sox to pre-order yours today. And we still have some time for you to join us on the fan line. So if you're watching on the FanCred app, hit that fan line button in the top right-hand side of the screen, and you'll be able to join us on the show. Wiggy, you have one of those watches. John Henry has one. Mike Felger has one. I don't have one. I'm not cool enough. But again, if you want to pre-order yours today, they're made with real wood from the 1946 Red Sox seats in Fenway Park. Go to originalgrain.com/Red Sox. Wiggy, as we were kind of doing the show here, you and Ben were kind of going back and forth a little bit, which I loved. Then Bob Sosi joined us, so I didn't really have time to process everything. But do you think it was a little bit of a bitch move that he just kind of like pretended like he couldn't hear my follow-up question? I was just trying to be a nice guy, ask him a general question about training camp, and he tried to like play it off like he couldn't hear me and just dumped the show on us.
He did a Tom Brady. He did a Tom Brady and said he did a walk-off from us. No, I mean, I don't know Ben well like that, but I know as a beat writer, I've been around those guys long enough from reporters. They're looking for stuff, and I say things what I believe, and sometimes I'm coming off as you might feel a certain way, but I just feel like when you talk about this whole Brady, Guerrero, Belichick relationship, I almost feel like questions have been answered to a certain point, right? We've heard Belichick talk about him. We've heard Brady talk about him. We've heard Guerrero like over and over and over. So I think, for people to say, oh, and there was a lot of people in the sports media, especially here locally, that are like, oh, yeah, it was a good question. He should have the right to ask the question. I'm not saying you don't have the right to ask the question, but I just think when you're asking certain questions, there are going to be people that look at it like myself, that come across and say, really, that's the question that you got to ask? You're basically asking another player about another player and the suspension or the PD test, the positive test. It just, to me, it don't make sense. And that's where I took issue with it, because Guerrero put out a statement. Julian Edelman put out a statement. So if you really want to keep digging just because you're hearing what people say, go ask Edelman.
Right. Matthew in Newton is going to be our next fan on the line. He has a question about the Patriots' first-round pick, Isaiah Wynn, who is supposed to be playing left tackle, but all reports out of training camp says that he's been running with the second-team offense for the Patriots so far. So let's bring on Matt. What's going on, brother?
Oh, not much, guys. So I was just wondering, you trade Brandon Cooks for this pick. You draft Isaiah Wynn, and now you're not going to play him. Especially on a team that doesn't have the strongest O-line, losing Nate Solder, why? What kind of sense does that make? Why is the team playing it like that?
Well, I don't think that they're not going to play him. The thing that Bill does is like he doesn't always just throw guys right away into the fire. When you're working with Dante Scarnecchia, a guy that's been around a long time, what you're going to see, and I'm going to bet anything on it, the kid Wynn is going to play because he is a good player. He's he played at Georgia, and I went there, and I'm a big fan, so I got an opportunity to watch him. So he's going to play, but I think what you have to do is you have to, you can't just throw guys into the fire, especially on that O-line, because there's a lot of moving parts. And I think you're seeing a little bit of that, of him going, maybe having to run some with the second unit. But I guarantee you this, he'll play. He will play, and he will play with that first unit.
Wiggy, he's only 6'2". Do you think he's better off to be built as a guard?
I don't think that really matters, because you look at Matt Light, guy I played with, he wasn't the biggest guy. I mean, he wasn't like a 6'7" guy. So it's, can you do the job? Can you hold it down at the end of the day? Because what does it mean when you have a 6'2" left tackle? Doesn't mean anything. You compared to a 6'7" guy. I mean, except for, maybe longer arms or that type of thing. But if you're a good player and you could do what you're supposed to do, it really doesn't matter. The whole physical stature, size and all that, that's all thrown out the window, especially when Baker Mayfield goes number 1.
Yeah, well, that's true.
As a 6-foot quarterback.
And then you see guys like Rosen and Allen, 6'4", 6'5",
right,
going
it's
later.
Whether or not you can play, and I think ideally, every position has this prototypical size that they want. But at the end of the day, can a guy play? And if a guy can play, I think that's the most important thing.
All right, it's time for Fugazi or for real. Wiggy, since Felger was off, I wanted to kind of do something a little bit different today. I'm going to show you a handful of photos from guys around the NFL. You got to tell me if they're for real, if they walk the walk, or if they're Fugazi, they're fake, they're clown, they're jabroni. So we're going to start it off. This one is Marshawn Lynch, Oakland Raiders running back. What do you think?
He's for real. Beast mode. I thought he was a tremendous player. I mean, obviously, we've seen what he did in his career. So he's one of those guys that is for real. He walked the walk, he talked the talk, and he went out there and played.
One of 3 players I would never want to fight in the NFL. I don't back down in front of a lot of people. Lynch is one of 3. Next one up, Patriots owner Robert Kraft.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. He's for real. He's as real as they get. Bottom line, I mean, look what he's done with this organization. I grew up as a fan watching this organization as a kid. And when I was growing up, even before me, when I was a little bit younger, they only showed Giants games around here in Massachusetts because the Pats were so bad. But he's taken over, and he's turned this to the best organization in all of sports.
Listen, a lot of people think Tom Brady's the biggest rock star from the New England Patriots. They are so wrong about this. It's Robert Kraft. Look, he's got the hot, super young girlfriend. He's hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce. He goes to visit Meek Mill in prison. He's got the pinstripe suit, the pink tie. He rocks the white Air Force Ones all the time. Robert Kraft, the original OG. All right, how about Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers, Fugazi. Now, on the field, he's a great player, but there's something about him that I just find him to be phony and fake at times. I don't really know. Like, when I look, I feel like when I see Brady and I see some quarterbacks, they're kind of genuine. But for me, Rodgers seems like it's all about him. He's just, I'm like, dude's a great player, don't get me wrong, but for me, he's Fugazi.
Just one Super Bowl over the last, through his career. That's just pathetic.
A little bit overrated. I've always said a little bit overrated.
All right. How about this next one? I know he's got a smoking hot wife, but Russell Wilson, Seattle Seahawks quarterback.
Fugazi. He's definitely Fugazi. He's another player. I mean, these guys are good players, right? Let's not get that twisted. But at the end of the day, he's another one that I feel like, there was all this hype. He had one really good year with the Seattle Seahawks, and then I think teams started to realize what he could do, kind of exposed him a little bit. And I just feel like there's sometimes in games when I watch him, I'm like, man, you're supposed to be better than that. So he's one of those guys that I'm kind of like, he's Fugazi.
The thing about me is Russell Wilson inherited this great defense. There's
right.
No more Richard Sherman. There's no more Earl Thomas. Cam Chancellor retired. Bobby Wagner's still there. Let's see how much Russell Wilson can really do. I think that Seattle Seahawks time has passed. They could have had a dynasty, Wiggy, but I think the time has passed. All right, this is a battle every year in the NFL. It's Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree. Talib, obviously, former New England Patriots cornerback, now plays for the Rams. Michael Crabtree, former Raiders, 49ers, now plays for the Ravens. They're battling. Aqib always snatches his chain. Who's for real? Who's Fugazi?
I'm going to go with Aqib is for real, Crabtree's Fugazi. Because the thing that I like about Talib, and I never had the opportunity to play, but I love that moxie he brings to the game. He talks, but he backs it up. When I look at Crabtree, I mean, Crabtree's a guy that we've kind of seen he has all the upside potential, but he's kind of never really took it to that next level. And if you look at Talib, he's really been a really good cornerback throughout his whole career. When he was here in New England, even when he was in Tampa Bay, he had some off-the-field issues, but he was still a baller out there. Same way in Denver, but I like the way Talib plays.
All right, I got 2 more for you, and then we'll get to 5 questions with Wiggy. How about this guy? Who's that?
Hey, that guy looks good. That guy looks good. That's one of the cornrows. That guy is definitely 100% for real.
Wiggy, I got to be honest with you. I tried to look up some highlights for you a couple weeks ago when I was editing some of your and Felger clips. I couldn't find any highlights of you in HD, my man. That's how long ago you played.
It's really like not that. I was at practice the other day, and that was Bill had showed like a play of me on 2 Minute, and one of the guys said to me like, man, it looked like you played 50 years ago. I was like, geez, it's like, I guess it's because of the way technology is, it advances so quick. And, but it is what it is. At least you can find some tape. So that, I'm happy with that.
That's very true. You can say that more than 99% of the population. How about this one last one? Who's that?
Oh, that guy's Fugazi.
It's Felger.
Yes, he's the ultimate word of Fugazi. Don't let him fool you.
All right, so that was some fun with my man Jermaine Wiggins, Fugazi, or For Real. Let's go to Andrew on the fan line. We're going to wait for Andrew on the fan line. Let's get to 5 questions with Wiggy, all right? Again, Jabroni Talk, sponsored by Original Grain. You can now pre-order the next limited release of the Original Grain watches, 1946 Red Sox watch at originalgrain.com/Red Sox. These are awesome watches made from real wood from Fenway Park seats. Wiggy, you see his right there. Mike Felger, who's usually where I am, he has one. So does Red Sox owner John Henry. They both wore the watches on this show, Jabroni Talk. They sold out within a week. So that's probably going to happen again. Go to originalgrain.com/Red Sox. All right, Wiggy. 5 questions for Wiggy. We do this every week, or Felger does it every week, and I'm just filling in. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions. We'll save the last one for someone from the fan line. And again, if you want to hit that fan line button, it's in the top right-hand side of the screen. You'll be able to join us right here on Jabroni Talk. Wiggy, we reported live right on the show, breaking news, the New England Patriots cut wide receiver Jordan Matthews. Yesterday, they worked out Eric Decker. Let's forget about the wide receiver position for a second. Let's focus on the significant other, the wags of wide receiver Eric Decker, and compare her to the wide receiver of Danny Amendola, whose girlfriend, I think, or wife, or she was some Hooters girl of the year, Olivia Culpo, and Decker's wife, Jesse James, country music star, reality TV star. Who would Patriot fans rather see, Amendola's girl or Decker's girl?
I'm betting they go with Olivia Culper rather than Jesse. I think her name is Jesse James. She's a cute girl, but yeah, but I think one's a model, right? And I think Amendola's girl is a model, so you can't go wrong with a model.
Hooters Girl of the Year or something. Not like Playmate of the Year, but the Hooters version.
Hey, listen, Hooters got some great wings. They got a boneless special Wednesday night. It's August.
Neither of these girls, by the way, chocolate and thick, just the way Wiggy likes his milk cakes.
No, they're not my speed. They're not my lane.
The Boston Red Sox did not add a pitcher to their bullpen before the trade deadline. Instead, the Blue Jays traded closer Roberto Osuna to the Houston Astros, who's facing a domestic abuse allegations right now. I guess it's kind of a legal battle in court. What do you think about these domestic abuse allegations, Wiggy? Do players get the right to have a second chance if it is indeed true?
Well, I think players definitely they get a right to a second. I mean, everybody deserves a second chance, right? I've always looked at it, a guy gets a second chance, not an issue. It's what he does with that second chance. You know what I mean? Is he remorseful? Can you really tell he's sincere about that? So at the end of the day, that's what I'm always looking at. I'm not going to bury somebody just because of something they did the first go round. Because it's just in the real world. I mean, I have friends and family that, have done things that put them in bad situations with the law, but I didn't bury them. You got to give people a second chance. But as far as the Red Sox, I would have loved to see them go get a closer, but I still think this is the best team in baseball, and I still think they'll get it done. I expect them to be in the World Series. If they're not in the World Series, this season was a failure.
No matter what happens, if they don't, do they have to win it or they just have to make it?
They have to make it. If they don't make it to the World Series, to me, this season was a failure.
All right, let's stick with Boston sports, but we're moving to the NHL, where the Boston Bruins are going to retire Rick Middleton's number 16 jersey. Already 10 numbers retired up there in the rafters, 6 Stanley Cups. Are they retiring too many players or too many jersey numbers?
I don't think so, because when you think about it, Nifty was a very, very talented player, and when you look, to me, it's about retiring numbers. When you look up there and you go, that guy was damn good. And Rick Middleton was one of those players, so because not everybody's going to win championships. I mean, you think about, a lot of jerseys that are retired for a lot of organizations, and you think about, whether it's all about whether or not this guy was good. If he was in a position to not be able to win championships. I mean, it was all about that. It'd be hard to put jersey numbers up there. Think about it. Ted Williams' number would never be hanging anywhere.
We went through number 1 through 3. It's time for number 4. Felger always reserves this for Word on the Street, brought to you by Wiggy. So let's get to it. This week, you said Little Ben was on one, but we shut him down like a crackhead at the flea market. At the flea market. All right, so I guess I have to translate this somehow. Little Ben, I have no idea who that is. I don't think it's a rapper. I have no idea who Little Ben is. He was on one. He was tripping. Right. He was high on something. He was feeling a little bit.
On something. You want me to translate it? You're trying.
But we shut him down like a crackhead at the flea market. I have no idea what that means. Crackheads try to pawn shit off at the flea market?
No. Well, it's very simple. Little Ben is Ben Volen. Okay? Meaning he was on one he tried Brady with that dumbass question.
Yeah.
We had to shut him down like a crackhead at the flea market means like, we had to shut that whole thing down. Like, nah, bro, you're not getting in here because we know what happens when a crackhead gets in a flea market. He gonna steal a lot of stuff. So basically, we shut Ben Volen down for that stupid question he asked. Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm glad we shut Little Ben down because I really think he was just dodging me. He came on our program, your program, I'm just filling in, and just kind of like said what he wanted to say, and then he got out of there. I didn't even get a follow-up question. What's up with that?
That is that, we call that bitch assness. But the good thing about Jabroni Talk is, hey, we welcome all types, bitch assness. We welcome all types of people. And he will have he always has a line to come on and join the program at any time.
Just don't be afraid when we call you out afterwards. That's it. We're going to reserve number 5 for the fan line. We have Andrew in Connecticut, who I think is a weekly regular here on Jabroni Talk with his awesome questions during 5 Questions with Wiggy. So let's bring on Andrew, and he'll have the final question for Wiggy. What's going on, Andrew?
Hey, what's up, guys? Bill, you're for real. Wiggy, you are a total fugazi, but it is okay. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. And I wanted to ask you guys a very important question. ESPN just announced that ESPN 8 The Ocho is returning next Wednesday. So, Wiggy, I got to ask, if you were to pick a sport that you would play and compete during an ESPN 8 The Ocho marathon, what sport would you play, and why is it not soccer, you hater?
Listen, I'm not a soccer fan. I think they're athletes, but it's something I don't do. But if I had to pick one sport, I would take it back to when I was a kid growing up, and we would play half-ball. That is the ultimate sport. Half-ball. It's when you get a broomstick, right? Your grandmother's got a broomstick laying around, you unscrew it, and then you used to get pimple balls. They were like these little balls with these things. You cut them in half, and then you throw them, and you'd add a catcher, and basically first floor was a single, second floor was a double, third floor was a triple, and if you could hit it on the roof, it was a home run. So it was like a combination of baseball and, with stickball, and, there was no running or anything like that. Half-ball. It was an East Boston thing. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
That's a bold strategy there, Wiggy. Let's see if they go for it. Wiggy, it's a pleasure hosting the show with you today. I'm glad Felger was on vacation because it gave me some airtime opportunity to share it with you. And I think we got a lot done today. We broke some news regarding Jordan Matthews getting cut by the New England Patriots. They've been in camp for about a week already. We're about a month away or 5 weeks away from the NFL season. So I'm happy to spend some time with you.
Not a problem. Anytime. Here we got Ben Volen to he kind of curved us and walked off. But don't worry about it. I sent out a text message to a couple state trooper buddies and told them be on the lookout for him.
Again, thanks for Ben Volen from the Boston Globe for joining us. Bob Sochi, 98.5, the Sports Hub, New England Patriots play-by-play radio guy. He's Jermaine Wiggins. I'm Bill Enright. Thanks for watching Jabroni Talk on FanCred.